Hi there, fellow musician. I hope you're doing well and you're staying safe during this pandemic. And today, I just want to cover a certain topic that has come up through the survey. If you haven't taken the survey, click the link below this video and you'll get a survey so that I can answer the questions that you are struggling with the most. Because I can't predict what you want me to cover for this tutorial. So if you want me to cover a specific tutorial, then let me know by taking the survey. So as you can see today, this person is almost happy with their mixes, but they're struggling with creating depth in the mix. And this person as well, they're also struggling with depth. So I'm going to cover depth today, but I'm not going to cover everything about depth. So I'm only going to talk about how to create depth using Reverb. To create depth, it's a combination of volume, compression, transients, reverb, delay, EQ, and a whole lot of other stuff to create contrast between front and back in your mix. Now, for those who don't know what depth is, so I have an image here that explains everything much more simpler. You see, you have to always picture your mix in 3 dimensions, which is height. Height is from top to bottom. That's your EQ. That deals with frequencies from the bottom to the top, okay? And then there's the stereo image from left to right. That's your width. And then from back to front, that's your depth, okay? That's what we'll be dealing with today. So what you want to do is to create contrast. You need sounds that will be up front, sounds that will be somewhere in the middle, and sounds that will be further at the back of the mix, so that you have contrast, so that the listener can tell which is the main sound and which are background sounds. Now let's look at a practical way of getting depth in a mix by using reverb. So for me, when it comes to using reverb to create depth, I use multiple reverbs. As you can see here, I have like 5 different reverbs. Each and every reverb serves a different purpose. Like for the plate, I use the plate to create a small sense of depth while keeping a sound up front. Why? Because a plate has a shorter decay time. It's like a room reverb. Room reverbs and plate reverbs, that's why they work well on sounds such as your vocals, because you want your vocals to fit well with the other sounds that are in the mix. So to make the vocals fit well, you have to push them a little bit back while still keeping them up front. So that's why we normally use plates or room reverbs on vocals to keep them up front. And then a hall is usually used for your background sounds. If you want something to be further at the back of the mix, then you use a hall reverb. And then here I have an ambient reverb just to add some sparkle and sheen, which is a brighter reverb. It has a high shelf boost to brighten up certain sounds. This is used more like a plate and a room reverb, so it gives you a sense of space while keeping the sound up front in the mix. And then a darker room is a reverb that I use just like a hall. But since a hall pushes a sound further at the back, the dark room will put it somewhere in the middle. Finally, the space reverb. Space reverb is just to give a sense of space and put things further at the back, just like you would with a hall reverb. These are just different flavors of reverb. Think of it just like a cake. A cake that's just brown, it might taste good, but it can be better. It can be better by adding maybe cream, adding cherry on top and stuff like that to make the cake appeal better and taste even better. Okay, so think of this as different flavors to create depth. And then for my delay signals, I'm also sending these different reverbs. As you can see, for the slap, I have the plate. Why do I have the plate on the slap? Because the slap deals with width. It makes things wider in the mix. So since it's wider, it's already pushing the sound just a bit at the back. And then I'm using a plate to put it in a sense of space, because a delay effect can be too dry and overwhelm the dry signal. So if you take a slap effect and then just throw it on a vocal, the vocal will still sound up front. So to push it a bit back, I added a plate reverb. And then the ping pong, because I'm using the ping pong for just my overheads and my hi-hats, I want to add a bit of rhythm to the hi-hat and overhead. At the same time, add a sense of space, okay, and brighten up the sounds. So I get a bit of both. I get depth, I get the rhythm. So that's why I'm sending a brighter reverb to the ping pong. And because the hi-hats are a brighter sound and the overheads. I'm doing this because I don't want to add a reverb directly to the hi-hats. And then finally the tape delay. For the tape delay, I want it to be pushed at the back of the mix because I just wanted to create a rhythm without overwhelming the dry signal. Just like I said before, a delay can be way too upfront and then overpower the dry signal. So we want to push it just a bit back in the mix. And that's it. That's how you use these different flavors on delay effects. And then for the instruments, let's check out. Let me mute these, the bass, and then let me mute the low percussions as well. And then we'll check out the guitar, and then let's mute the strings, and the piano, and the up. Now let me put on my headphones so that you can check this out. Let me play this just to get an idea of what's going on. So as you can hear, everything is in its own sense of space. So what I'm going to do is to disengage all the reverbs and all the effects so that you guys can be able to hear the difference. Okay. I'm going to enable the piano as well. So now I want you guys to check out the instruments without the effects, and then we'll check them out with the effects so that you can be able to hear the sense of space in terms of depth. Check out the dry signal. As you can hear, everything is way too upfront and everything is fighting for the same space in terms of depth. Even though I've already done what I can with the volume to put the guitars up front, the keyboards behind the guitars, and the piano behind the rolls. I'll explain that later on. And now let's check out I'll just engage the effects so that you guys can be able to hear how everything will be in its pocket in terms of front and back. The guitars will be up front and the Rhodes will be behind the guitar and the piano. Check it out. As you can hear, now everything is in a certain space. So let's check out the reverbs here. As you can see on the guitar, I use the plate and an ambient as well as the tape delay and a slap. So the slap is just for width to make the guitars wider. And then the tape delay adds a bit of rhythm. But as you can remember, the tape delay also had a reverb space in it just to push the reverb signal at the back of the mix so that it doesn't clash with the original guitar signal. Okay, and then the ambient is there to brighten up the guitar, and then the plate is there to create a sense of space while keeping the guitars up front. And then next I have the Rhodes. As I explained, I use the hall is there to put the Rhodes somewhere in the middle between back and front. So it puts the Rhodes in the middle. And then the chorus effect, we can talk about that later on as we keep creating these tutorials. But the chorus is just to thicken up the Rhodes and give it a doubling effect. And then the tape is just there to add rhythm. And as I've already explained, that the tape delay also has a sense of space. And then the piano, to make sure that the piano is behind the guitar and the Rhodes, I have a hall and a dark room. So the dark room is just making sure that I push the piano further at the back behind the Rhodes. And then as you can see, I disabled the space effect because I wanted the piano to be further at the back, right? But with the space effect, it became inaudible. So I couldn't hear it anymore because the space effect pushed it further at the back because it has a longer decay. So let's talk about decay when it comes to reverbs. A short decay on a plate and an ambient will make things up front. A medium decay time will put things in the middle, and then a longer decay time, like in the dark room here, it will push things further at the back. So the longer the decay, the further at the back the sound will be, and then the shorter the decay time, the more upfront and closer, like in your face, the sound will become. It's really that simple. And then as you can see, for the strings, I also have a hall and a dark room to make sure that I push the strings in the back. But I also have the slap to make sure that the strings become more wider. And then let's check out everything. As you can hear, the more I increase the longer reverbs, the more further at the back the piano sounds, okay? And then let's check out where the ambient is much more obvious. So I'll unmute this percussion. Let me disengage the guitars as well. We'll just leave the keys playing. And then I want you to check out the drum air. I'll link these two so that I can disengage them at the same time. So as you can hear, with the drum air reverb engaged, the Rhodes get pushed back at the mix, and then the conga and the bongo just become up front, like further in front of the keys. So that's how you use reverb to get more depth. If any of this is confusing, then leave a comment below and I'll definitely get back to you. But I hope I explained using reverb to create depth as best as I can. Now, okay, for the final example, you have to check this out, guys. Let me disengage these and just leave the overheads and hi-hat so that you can be able to hear depth for the ping pong delay. I want you to listen to how it brightens up the higher frequencies. Okay, it works like you would with a shelf, like a shelf boost. Okay, check it out. So I'll link them so that I can disengage them at the same time. So check this out, guys. So if you had that, the reason they're becoming brighter is because of this reverb here that I sent to the ping pong. So the delay is not making the hi-hat and the overheads brighter. The reverb is what's making the hi-hat brighter to push them up front in the mix and push the Rhodes further at the back. Okay, so if any of this is confusing, then just leave a comment below. I'll definitely try my best to explain it. Like I said, depth, it takes time, guys. It's not something that you can master like in one tutorial, just like that. So it requires a lot of practice because as you can see, you can't copy these exactly like this and then send all your reverbs just like I did. It's something that you have to experiment with for each and every mix. Each and every mix is different and will require a different approach. So each and every mix that I do is not like this. Every mix is totally different because this is more like adding flavor to your sounds. So each and every song will require different flavors. I hope that explains everything. And remember, this is not all the information about depth. Depth also involves delay, it involves compression, it involves volume, it involves transients. It's a combination of a lot of things. It's not just reverb, but reverb is usually the main go-to. So that's why I'm starting with reverb, and then as we go along with these tutorials, I'll cover more subjects about creating depth. So take good care, stay safe, and that's it for today. Cheers.